The Duel by Eugene Field, 1850 to 1895. The gingham dog and the calico cat side by side on the table sat. 'Twas 12:30, and what do you think? Not one nor t'other had slept a wink. The old Dutch clock and the Chinese plate appeared to know, as sure as fate, there was going to be a terrible spat. I wasn't there. I simply state what was told to me by the Chinese plate. The gingham dog went bow wow wow, and the calico cat replied Mee-ow. The air was littered an hour or so with bits of gingham and calico, while the old Dutch clock in the chimney-place up with its hands before its face, for it always dreaded a family row. Now mind, I'm only telling you what the old Dutch clock declares is true. The Chinese plate looked very blue and wailed, "Oh dear, what shall we do?" But the gingham dog and the calico cat wallowed this way and tumbled that, employing every tooth and claw in the awfulest way you ever saw. And oh, how the gingham and the calico flew! Don't fancy I exaggerate. I got my news from the Chinese plate. Next morning where the two had sat, they found no trace of dog or cat. And some folks think unto this day that burglars stole that pair away. But the truth about the cat and pup is this: they ate each other up. Now what do you really think of that? The old Dutch clock told it to me so, and that is how I came to know. Okay, this poem is by Eugene Field. Let's see, Eugene Field is an American poet and author. Let's see, he's probably best known for his children's poetry like this. He came from St. Louis, Missouri in the US, and he worked as a reporter. Then he went to Chicago and used to write a funny column for Chicago, funny articles for Chicago newspapers. Now, The Duel, what's this poem about? Well, this poem reminds me very much of the style of Edward Lear, and this poem is about a battle between the gingham dog and the calico cat. Now, gingham is a checked red and white, black and white, yellow and white, blue and white pattern, and on a textile, so a textile dog. And the calico cat, calico is also another type of textile. Well, you could have a calico cat that's white and brown and black. The word calico actually comes from Malayalam, from Calicut, which is a place in Kerala in India. Calico, it's a type of cotton textile. Anyway, it's about a battle between these two animals. I think these are both stuffed animals. So the gingham dog and the calico cat sat side by side on the table, and it was 12:30. And what do you think? What do you know? Nor one nor t'other had slept a wink, so neither of them had slept at all. The old Dutch clock and the Chinese plate. So I think these two are the clock and the plate. These are both on the wall, and they're watching what is happening. And they appeared to know, as sure as fate, there was going to be a terrible spat. So the Dutch clock and the Chinese plate, this is probably one of these blue and white Chinese plates, knew that there was going to be a terrible spat, an argument, a fight. I wasn't there, so I don't know. I wasn't there, I can't guarantee. But I'm simply telling you what was told to me by the Chinese plate. So this is what the plate said. Yeah, maybe it's not true. This is what the plate said. The gingham dog went bow wow wow wow, and the calico cat replied meow. The air was littered an hour or so with bits of gingham and calico. So littered, the air was full for an hour or so of bits of gingham and bits of calico. So clearly they've been fighting. While the old Dutch clock in the chimney-place, up with its hands before its face. So it put its hands in front of its face. Yeah, well, a clock has hands. For it always dreaded a family row. A row is an argument. So the old Dutch clock didn't like family arguments. Now mind, I'm only telling you what the old Dutch clock declares is true. So I'm only telling you what the Dutch clock says is the truth. The Chinese plate looked very blue, so the Chinese plate's probably actually blue and white anyway, but if it looked blue then maybe it's depressed as well, and wailed and cried, "Oh dear, what shall we do? What are we going to do?" But the gingham dog and the calico cat wallowed this way and tumbled that. Okay, so they wallowed, they were occupied, they were rolling in one way, one direction or another. And they were tumbling, they were falling, employing every tooth and claw. So they were fighting in the awfulest way you ever saw. Okay, so they're fighting really badly. And oh, how the gingham and calico flew. So they're bits of gingham and bits of calico flying everywhere. It's a very bad fight. Yeah, the fur flew. I don't fancy I exaggerate, so don't think I'm exaggerating. I got my news from the Chinese plate, and the Chinese plate was there. It witnessed this. Next morning, where the two had sat, they found no trace of dog or cat. So the next morning, the two both of them had disappeared. And some folks think, and to this day, that burglars stole that pair away. So some people think that robbers came and stole the calico cat and the gingham dog. But the truth about the cat and puppy dog, the cat and dog, is this. They ate each other up, so they ate each other completely. Now, what do you really think of that? So, what do you think? What's your opinion? The old Dutch clock told me so, and that is how I came to know. And the clock was there, so the clock knows. So this is a nonsense rhyme, very much in the fashion of Edward Lear, who's about the same time. So enough. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you soon. Bye for now. The Duel by Eugene Field.